Hey guys, I want to just post this video and not address what's going on in Ukraine right now. I don't think it's right to do that personally. I don't feel comfortable just putting out a video and pretending that nothing's fucking happening. What's going on in the Ukraine right now is horrendous, and I've been extremely vocal about it on Twitter, on Instagram, and even on my personal Facebook. I do not agree with anything that's fucking going on. I do not believe this is Russia's war. I think this is Putin's war. I think there are too many war crimes right now to cause gas for a jump out right now. I think that the people who have sacrificed their lives to fight for their country are complete and utter heroes. And I think that the politicians who are trying to look the other way and all they're doing is putting sanctions in are fucking cowards. I understand that it's hard to make affirmative action right now. I understand that Putin threatening nuclear war is not something they can take lightly. But also, if this is just ignored, if Ukraine are not assisted immediately, then this could be World War III. The people who have fled their homes because some small man invaded their country deserves to pay for his fucking war crimes. The video I made a couple of weeks ago is meant to be lighthearted and funny. I haven't felt comfortable editing it. I haven't felt comfortable uploading. The only hope I have is that my content, anyone's content, helps to ease anxiety over what is going on in the world if you need a distraction, if you need something to laugh at or smile at. I've personally gone through something a couple of weeks ago where I wholeheartedly leaned on people's content because I was going through something really, really hard, and I couldn't stop thinking about what was going on. I have some form of ADD and my brain just could not be quiet, and I couldn't sleep without something on in the background. I couldn't think straight. I couldn't even concentrate enough to do the washing up or eat, cook dinner. So please don't think that I'm posting this video and ignoring what's going on. That is not the case. Like I said, I just hope it's some sort of distraction. Peace has been shattered in Europe. Ukraine deserves better. Europe deserves better. Anyway, on with the video. That was not as satisfying as I wanted it to be. So, I guess I wanted to tell some funny stories today because my life's going to shit and I can't concentrate. So I thought I'd tell some anecdotal life stories about my nightmare neighbours. If you like these, I've got plenty of others, unfortunately. Not ridiculously embellished like Tana Mojo sort of story times, so don't worry. Obviously, I'm not going to use people's actual names or anything like that. I'm just hoping this will be entertaining, funny. Someone needs to take some laughs out of the depressing life that I fucking lead. Okay, so where I used to live, there was our next door neighbour. I used to live with a parent. There was a row of houses, there was like 4 houses, and then around the corner was like 4 parking spaces, and each one was assigned to a house. And then there was a bay across from these houses, so that if you had any guests, you could park 2 cars comfortably in that bay. There's easily enough space for everybody. So my sister used to park on the drive, my mum used to park in the bay around the corner. My sister was parked on the drive and her boyfriend came over. So her boyfriend knew that he and her were going to go out soon in her car, and therefore he parked in front of my next door neighbour's house. Not in the bay, just kind of on the pavement, you know, as you sort of park in the UK. This next door neighbour came round. They were very used to intimidating people all of the time. I remember we've had this person on phone calls multiple times, screaming down the phone at people. I was even in an altercation with a different neighbour, like who lived across the road or something, and I can't remember what was said because obviously it was a long time ago, but I just remember being astounded by the way this spoke to this other person that came to her just to ask probably just something really simple, but she made it such a big deal, and she was such a hothead. And you would also hear her screaming and shouting constantly at her kids or at her husband through the wall. It was awful. So anyway, she comes around and she's used to intimidating people to get her own way, right? So the reason I know this is because I was at the top of the stairs and the front door literally like leads directly to the front door. So I heard the whole thing. She says to my sister, who's probably about 19, 20, I want to say, and she says, "Is that your friend's car?" My sister says, "Yeah, it is my friend's car." This woman, this neighbour, had the gall to be like, "He's in my space." Now, is it inconvenient for someone to be parked directly outside your home? Yes. However, especially if you don't have a drive, you have no right to tell someone to move their car. Especially if there's an empty bay opposite. Now, I can't remember why he didn't park in the bay, but either way, the bay was all of about 10, not even, maybe like 5 steps from the bay to the house. Like, hello. And she was really going off trying to intimidate my sister and her boyfriend to move the car. And she said, "Well, why can't he just park over the drive?" And my sister said, "Well, because we're going to be leaving in my car in like 5 minutes and I need my car." And she said, "Well, why can't he park in the bay?" Why can't you park in the bay? Like, just one small instance. However, this person is also, she ended up threatening my mum. They were some of the worst neighbours I've ever had. They fucked up all of our fencing and they tried to say that it was our job to replace them, even though it was their kids. There was a park literally about a 2-minute walk from, I'm not joking, from that house. And they would insist on having their kids in the backyard, and their kids used to kick this ball up against this fence. So the fence panels would literally just fall apart and crumble, force being kicked against it over and over and over again. Then they had the gall to turn around and say we had to replace their fence. Are you kidding me? One day, because we refused to replace this fucking fence, so in the kitchen there was like these big glass doors, like completely see-through, so you can see directly into the garden. I looked out in the garden and saw I think I was just about to let my mum's dog out. I just saw these 2 little dogs in our garden. Now, they had 2 or 3, I can't even remember. And I was like, oh fuck, that's next door's dogs. So I had to try and like shoo them back through this like gap that they'd clearly got through. First of all, when I started walking towards them, they were like little Russell Terrier sort of dogs. Very handbag sort of dogs, but they were kind of Jack Russell, so they were very like yappy. I started walking towards them and this dog was like proper snarling at me. I was not gonna lie, a bit intimidated, and I was like, no, I'm like 10 times bigger than this dog. And then I stepped towards it and it was like, oh, he's not intimidated by us, and ran to try and get through this hole. I just kind of wanted to get them and shoo them back through the hole to get them into their home. So one of them got through, the second one got stuck. And I was scared to touch it, considering how much this was the one that snarled at me and was barking at me. I was scared to touch it because I thought if I try and like push it through, it could end up just snapping at me and I could end up getting bit. So I shouted to my mum and said, you need to like knock on next door's door. They got the dog through safely, no harm done to it or anything, just probably a little bit of a bruised ego, I imagine. The husband of this woman decided they were going to do something about the fence. Now, I cannot tell you how bad this is. He built a fence on top of another fence. So it was like with pieces of wood like this, and previously there were just fence panels. So the pieces of wood were literally drilled into the previous fence and into the concrete posts that were holding the fence together. My mum found out about this. She realised that because he's drilled into concrete post, the concrete post is literally crumbling where he's drilled into it, because when you drill into concrete, especially it being at least 20 years old, it's not made for that. It was great for him because his side looked great. Our side was falling apart. Like, all the fence panels were completely shit because of what they'd done to it. And we could hardly use some of the concrete posts because of what they'd done to it. And then it gets so much fucking worse. We get a letter through. I was very young when this happened. I didn't really understand the point, but now I really do, being like 32 32. I was going to say 33, I'm not 33 yet. So, get a letter through the door and it says that next door want to build a conservatory. Fine, no issue with that. Conservatory, the sun will come through the glass and it'll be fine, no worries. All the approval went through and they started building their conservatory. And halfway through we realised the whole fucking thing is made of brick. Well, that's not a conservatory, is it? That's an extension. And that blocked out almost all of the light, I am not kidding, bar like that much. So we had like these 2 glass doors previously and you could get all of the sun through these doors, and now all we had was like a crack of light, blocked out this fucking extension. We complained and said this isn't a conservatory. Conservatory is like 90% glass, this is 90 to 100% brick. This is an extension, not a conservatory. There is nothing conservatory about this. Like, I think it was the council said that basically they're not going to do anything about it. So eventually just fucked over the price of the property. But there is a slight satisfaction to this story. So, when that extension was built, I said it's only a matter of time before they want to build on top of that. Legally, they're not allowed to build on top of it. However, I guarantee they'll find a way to do something. Because they don't fucking do anything legally. However many years later, I can't remember. Because this guy's like a builder, so he does everything himself. Whatever his fucking wife, I imagine, wants, she gets. So one day, he builds a door that opens outwards from their bedroom, from the master bedroom, on that side, on the extension side. And I was like, this isn't good. Then, he put a fence all the way around the extension building, and then put like slats or something, I can't remember, so that you could walk on it. Almost like it was a balcony. A balcony so she could see into every single person's yard. Almost like a sea. So the backyards went like that. So you had the backyards here, and then you had backyards opposite for these houses as well. So she would have been able to see into every single backyard, and even, I imagine, the people opposite into their houses, because obviously the backyard leads into your house. Directly into someone's house. It's invasion of privacy at the very least. My mum then goes and complains about this, and thankfully someone takes this fucking seriously and says that's not okay, you're not allowed to do that. So then I think they might have got a letter to say that it had to be taken down within so many days. And this is when this neighbour came round, knocked on my mum's door and threatened her and said, I know it's you because you're a sad, lonely woman. That's what this person said to my 60-plus-year-old mum. What a gross thing to say to someone, because you've done something that you should never have done, that invades every single person's privacy, lives next door to you, that lives opposite you. So eventually, all the fencing got taken down just after he'd varnished it as well. All of the panels and everything got taken down, and they had to put a little gate around the door that he'd built for the master bedroom. And I said, well, that's even worse, because that door opens outwards, so he has to pay for another door to open inwards, because otherwise they still can't fucking use it. Needless to say, thankfully, they ended up moving. They were in that house for maybe 20 plus years, I want to say. She was hell to live next to. Like I said, all you would hear constantly was shouting through the wall. Anyway, if you enjoyed my little rant about an old neighbour, please give this video a like and subscribe if you feel like it. I have a whole list. I haven't even got on to my more recent ones. This is one from like my childhood that just like kills me. I have so many stories I would love to tell. Quite a few of them involve the police, unfortunately. Not to me. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Bye!